Hey guys, what's up, it's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be learning everything you need to know about Loki and Loki Prime in Warframe. In today's episode, we are going to be covering one of the arguably best frames in the game. Seriously, there is a cult called the Loki Master Race for a reason. I'd say Loki is like my second most used frame in the game, next to Nova. He's not as versatile of a frame as Nova. He lacks things such as damage dealing abilities, but he can make up for it with the fact that, he can go invisible and he can take away the bad guys' guns and make them fight one another. What's not to like about that? Before we jump into the nitty gritty with Loki, keep in mind that everything that I say in this video is subject to change because Warframe is a game that evolves a lot in a very short period of time, so it's worth checking out the description for links to follow-up videos that I make, maybe covering changes if they ever happen. There's also going to be a link to the Warframe wiki, which should have up-to-date information on there regardless of whether you watch this video or not. Besides that, the other links in the description are all links to my social media and links to my 1000 Platinum monthly giveaway. All you have to do to enter is click the giveaway link, subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Twitch, and then follow me in the @PlayWarframe account on Twitter, and boom, you have 4 entries into a 1000 Platinum giveaway. Where's the downside? Shameless self-promotion aside, Loki is my favorite stealth frame in the game because he's simple like I am. You press 2, you're invisible. You press 4, the enemies have no guns. You press 1, and boom, you have a Decoy, which is an okay ability, and then you look at your friend who's standing still AFKing in your defense mission. You press 3 to swap places with him, and boom, he's dead, punished for AFKing. Great frame, simple ability kit, easy to understand. On a more practical level though, people will use Loki mainly for his invisibility ability in spy missions, rescue missions, and just about any mission to get through it undetected, and also to get that stealth bonus for your melee damage. Other players who want to take their Loki gameplay one step further will use him in defense missions to completely disarm every enemy that spawns, in which if you're good enough, you can completely replace a Frost, Limbo, or Gara in these situations, but that is only if you're a good Loki and you are constantly spamming your 4th ability. Let's jump into the stats of Loki and Loki Prime at level 30. Regular Loki has 225 health, 225 shields, 65 armor, 225 energy, a sprint speed of 1.25, which is the highest base sprint speed in the game, a D and a V polarity in his modding section, and then finally a dash polarity in his aura slot. Loki Prime comes with 225 health, 225 shields, 65 armor, 262 energy, a 1.25 sprint speed, 2 D polarities, a V, and a dash in his modding section, and then a dash in his aura. You can currently farm regular Loki from the Hyena pack on Neptune. I'm not even going to attempt to try and say the name of the node. It's like Pasamph or something. I'll throw it on screen so you guys can see it. The drop chance for his parts are as follows. The neuroptics and chassis have a 38.72% chance to drop, where the systems has a 22.56% chance to drop, making the systems the rarest of the bunch. At the time of making this video, Loki Prime is currently unvaulted, meaning he was released from the Prime Vault. His relics are available to farm from the Plains of Eidolon's bounties until the 6th of April 2018. Then from that day onwards, Loki will be placed back into the Prime Vault, which means you'll have to buy his relics or parts from other players for platinum. The relics that drop his parts are as follows. For the blueprint, you can obtain it from a Meso F3 or Axie S2 relic. This is a common part. For the neuroptics, you can get them from Neo E1 relics. This is also a common part. For the chassis, you can get them from a Lift G2 relic as an uncommon drop. And then finally, for the systems, you can get them from an Axie L1 relic as a rare drop. Keep in mind, in the future, there could be more relics that drop Loki Prime, so this is not the definitive list of relics that drop Loki Prime parts. It would be worth checking the Warframe wiki for drop locations if you're watching this video like a year past its upload date. To craft regular Loki, you will need a total of 105,000 credits. This is including the blueprint costs, 1,000 ferrite, 800 rubido, 500 salvage, 220 plastids, 150 polymer bundles, 150 alloy plates, 2 morphics, a single control module, a single neural sensor, and finally, a single Oracle cell. To craft Loki Prime, you will need a total of 70,000 credits, 1,150 rubido, 1,000 nanospores, 1,000 ferrite, 500 circuits, 150 polymer bundles, 150 alloy plates, free gallium, free control modules, 2 neural sensors, and finally 2 Oracle cells. I think the Loki Prime looks really cool, but what looks even cooler is seeing how confused your enemies get when they lose all of their weapons or see another version of you. This is just a segue into the fact that we're going to be talking about his abilities now. Couldn't really think of anything else for this one. He's not really a frame that you can make a player excited to play because of how bland I guess this kit is. It's really bland, but it's also really effective. Loki's first ability is known as Decoy. Loki will place down a holographic decoy that has 400 shields and 200 health. This decoy will last for 25 seconds and will continuously shoot a Leto or Lex Prime if you're using Loki Prime to draw the enemy's attention. If an enemy runs into one of the bullets of the Lex or Leto, it has a chance of applying one of the free physical status effects, but not deal any damage, which means if you were to inflict a slash status effect, for example, it would only deal a total of 1 damage per tick, which is pretty poopy. The status procs, in my opinion, aren't really anything to note for, and you should never really build around this ability at all. How long your decoy lasts for is affected by power duration mods, and all other power mods, excluding efficiency mods, have no positive effects on this ability. Decoy has an augment known as Save Your Decoy. This augment and all of Loki's other augments can be obtained from the Arbiters of Hexus at the rank of Maxim, or from the Red Veil at the rank of Exalted for 25,000 Syndicate standing. Save Your Decoy is a decoy augment that will save Loki from taking fatal damage, meaning any damage that will ultimately kill him. Once Loki takes the fatal damage, you will swap places with your decoy, and then the decoy will die instead of you. Cool augment, but you should not really be taking damage as Loki anyway, seeing as you can go invisible. It will also increase the casting speed of decoy, as if that really matters. Next up, we have one of Loki's most effective abilities, Invisibility. And as the name suggests, this ability lets you go invisible for up to 12 seconds at max rank and unmodded. While invisible, you get an 8 times stealth damage multiplier for your melee attacks. If you come into contact with an enemy while you're invisible, this stealth damage multiplier will be removed as the enemy will be aware of your position. The amount of time that you stay invisible for is affected by power duration mods, and then all the other power mods beside efficiency mods have no positive effect on this ability. Invisibility has an augment for it known as Hushed Invisibility that will make any unsuppressed weapon silent while you're invisible. This augment has its uses, but it's not something that I use on a regular basis. Loki's third ability is known as Switch Teleport. This ability allows you to swap places with any friendly or hostile. Any hostile that you swap places with will be confused for a short period of time unless it's a special kind of enemy or a boss. The teleport range is affected by power range mods, then every other power mod except power efficiency mods have no positive effects on this ability. Switch Teleport has an augment known as Safeguard Switch, which will give any friendly that you swap places with invulnerability for a total of 6 seconds. How long your teammate is invulnerable for is affected by power duration mods, still not a mod that I would personally pick up and use. As I'm writing the script for this video, I'm realizing how bland of a Warframe Loki actually is. Don't get me wrong, he's powerful and fun to play to a certain degree because of his fourth ability, but compared to other frames and their mechanics, this is one of the most straightforward. I guess how much you practice and put into being a good Loki player will really determine how much fun you have with him. Loki's fourth ability is known as Radial Disarm. This ability, when casted, will permanently disarm all enemies within 20 meters, excluding unique enemies such as the Stalker, G3, or Sunuka, and even the bosses in the game. The range of your Radial Disarm can be increased with power range mods. If an enemy is affected by Radial Disarm, it will also deal 500 impact damage. This damage is far too low to be modding for, as it's affected by power strength mods. Recasting this ability on an already disarmed enemy will cause them to stagger backwards and repeat the disarm animation, making this ability spam worthy. Radial Disarm has an augment known as Radiating Disarm that will apply the radiation status effect to all enemies affected within your Radial Disarm cast for a total of 9 seconds. How long the radiation effect stays in the enemies for is affected by power duration mods. So that is Loki's ability set. Pretty boring when you sit and think about it. May just be me having played Loki a ton over the past couple of years. It's really an eye-opener onto how complex some other frames' ability kits really are. It's probably also worth mentioning that Loki's passive makes his wall latch last 10 times longer than other Warframes, making him the ideal choice of frame if you need to do a Riven challenge that requires you to wall latch and perform headshots or something. But even at that, there's probably frames out there like Limbo, for example, who can make those Riven challenges even easier. With Loki, I'm going to show you guys 2 basic builds, one based around Radial Disarm and one based around Invisibility, and show you how diverse the builds can actually be with this frame. He's a really easy frame to mod, so you can throw on a lot of quality of life mods to suit your needs. I'm going to jump into like a live portion of this just so I can explain it easier, because I feel like there's a lot of different variables whenever it comes to modding Loki, so jump into the live footage. Okay, so jumping into the live portions of the build, this is my Radial Disarm build. Now, you'll notice that this build is centered around using nothing but range mods in terms of your power abilities, or your power mods, sorry, and then also like a little bit of efficiency on the side. So we have Augur Reach on here for our range. We get 30% ability range from this one. We have Overextended for plus 90% ability range. Stretch for another 45%, and then on top of that we have Cutting Drift for another 15%. So that'll take our Loki's Radial Disarm range up to 56 meters, which is basically like an entire Auric and Void defense room. We go ahead and go back into the modding section. We have Prime Continuity on here for the ability duration. So then if we want to use invisibility, we'll have about a 12-second duration on that. Prime Flow for our energy. Streamline so we can cast our abilities a little bit more often. Vitality for our health. And then we have a Radiant Disarm on here because this is like our extra slot, right? So this is one of those builds where you can really throw anything you want on here. I like to throw on a Radiant Disarm just because it makes sense, because it's like an extra crowd control element, and it's also the reason we have Prime Continuity on this build as well, because if you remember, I was talking about using duration mods to extend the duration of that radiation effect, right? So if you have a Radiant Disarm on here, pair that with Prime Continuity and then all of your range mods, then this is a very powerful crowd control ability. It actually kind of, at least in my opinion, replaces Nyx as like a useful crowd control frame, because Nyx is all about making enemies fight one another, right? Where if you have Loki, you can disarm the enemies and make them fight one another on top of that, so it just makes them really insane. So you can change this here up if you really want to. Personally, I like using natural talent if I'm playing in, like, let's say a lower level defense mission, and I just want to like disarm all the enemies very quickly and make it so that my team gets through the mission faster. Just having those enemies like disarmed as fast as possible, and then let's say if we're using a speed nova or something, it just makes more sense to me. So, you know, you can throw whatever you want on this slot. A Radiant Disarm is probably the best option, but there is other options out there. Like I said, I like to use natural talent just because it speeds up the casting time, because Radial Disarm does have a little bit of a slow casting time. So that's basically that. Of course, your aura mod, it really depends what you're doing. Energy Siphon is probably the best option, because you're not going to be like, you know, you're not going to be looking to deal damage with this ability unless you're in a group of 4 people who are running Crucible Projection anyway. So unless your teammates are running Crucible Projection, it's probably better to run Energy Siphon just so you can spam this ability more often and keep your team alive. Okay, so moving on to config B, this is the one that we have more leeway with, because you notice what we're doing is we are basically modding more just around duration. So we have Narrow-Minded, Constitution, Prime Continuity, Augur Message, all for ability duration, which takes our invisibility up to 36.72 seconds, which is pretty good. Whenever you take into consideration that's only costing you 35 energy to cast that. So, you know, 36 seconds invisible is pretty good, at least in my opinion. It's probably one of the highest base invises in game that isn't a drain ability. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. Octavia is. But Octavia, you have to, like, you know, crouch to the beat, where with Loki, it's like an instant cast. Like, you press 2 and then you're instantly invisible, where with Octavia, you have to put a little bit of work in. But, yeah, you throw on all those duration mods, and then really the rest is up to you. You don't have to run Vitality if you don't want to, because you are going to be invisible, so you're not getting shot, so you can go ahead and swap something in for that. Prime Flow, I recommend, just to keep your energy up, or regular Flow if you really want to, or if you don't have Prime Flow, sorry. You also have your range mods on here, so we have Cunning Drift and Stretch. You don't need to have these on, because you're not necessarily modding around Radial Disarm, but you can go ahead and throw these on if you do want to have, you know, obviously Radial Disarm as a more useful ability, because if you take a look, like, our range from Radial Disarm in this build is 18.8 meters, which is nothing compared to our first build, right? So you may or may not want to run this or these range mods. It's really up to you. You can swap them out for things like, let's say, Rush, like any Exilus mods, maybe even what's it called, our Lightning Dash or whatever. So if you go into your Exilus slot here, you know, there's a bunch of stuff in here, a bunch of different mobility mods that you can throw in to, you know, make yourself go through missions faster. Maybe you need to find Syndicate medallions. You can use Thief's Wit or something. So you can replace Cunning Drift, you can replace Stretch, and you can replace Vitality. These are free mods that I would go ahead and be fine with replacing on this build. But other than that, you know, it's kind of down to you. So Rush is a good one, Thief's Wit is a good one, and then you can also use your mods like Firewalker or Lightning Dash or Toxic Flight or Ice Spring for more momentum, whatever you're bullet jumping and stuff like that, and then that'll make you go a little bit faster. Again, Aura mod really depends what you're doing, but most cases I recommend Energy Siphon, and then that is pretty much it for the builds. So yeah, other than that, we're going to jump back into the live footage now, or not the live footage, the scripted footage now. You see how bad I am live compared to scripted? It's kind of insane, but I just thought I would take the time to sort of explain, okay, these mods are interchangeable in this build, and it just made more sense to kind of like talk about it live to show you guys the numbers and the stats, because it's a very simple frame to kind of explain. You either mod range or you mod duration, and then there's a few mods which are interchangeable, and that's really down to the player and what it is that they're doing. So yeah, jumping back to the scripted stuff now. And back to the scripted stuff. This is the end of the video. Scripting this has made me realize how bland Loki is and how easy he is to build. That's not to say that he isn't a fun frame to play. I always enjoy playing Loki and spamming Disarm in a really high level void defense mission. It's a role that I played that not many other people did play because they didn't know that they could, or because they just weren't good enough at it to constantly spam 4 while still being able to jump around and pop nullifier bubbles or kill high value targets. It just means that Loki is an easy frame to mod for as a newer player. Once you pick up some of the basic mods like Stretch, Continuity, Streamline, and maybe some of the corrupted mods, you should be good to go. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button, check out my social media links in the description below, subscribe for more Warframe content, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 PM UK time for everything you need to know about Vault.